Hi, you're watching Investor Insights. I'm Vic, and in this video I thought I'd have a little bit of fun with you. Just earlier today I posted a video about market crashes and the like, and if it seems to be a real downer, especially with the Chinese New Year coming up, I thought I'd share some lighter moments from the research that I've been doing of late for a thesis that I'm writing. Essentially it comes down to the blind leading the blind. And what do I mean by that? Well, I've attached 3 articles in the description box below, and if you have a read of them, it should give you a great sense of what idiots central bankers really are. Now, just to let you in on it, just to give you a brief description of what these articles are about. Ben Bernanke, the leader of the chairman of the Federal Reserve, in his last speech, practically as chairman, he steps down at the end of this month. He put a statement out that QE works whilst posing no immediate bubble risk. Now, I'm just going to read out some excerpts from his speech, and he believes that he piloted the economy through a financial crisis that led to the longest recession since the 1930s. He's tried to bolster growth by holding the target interest rate near zero and pushing forward with unprecedented bond buying known as QE. And he adds, to those who have been saying for the last 5 years they were on the brink of hyperinflation, I think I would just point to them that this morning's CPI number and suggest that inflation is not really a significant risk of this policy. He said because the CPI rose 1.5% in the past year. Well, when you put CPI prices that are so subjective to statistical manipulation and subjective withdrawals of items from the selected basket, you can make CPI numbers look like whatever you want. So CPI could be running at 10 million% for all you know, but because you pick items that aren't going up, or you manipulate the sample so that CPI is not showing to be growing, of course you can say that you've done a great job. But essentially, inflation is not showing in the States because it's been exported through all those toilet paper treasuries to the emerging markets. That's why you had those disasters in the emerging markets last October and November, and now inflation starting to run in China. And so it should bloody show, because they've been doing it for quite a long time. But that's not actually the funny side of this article. This article just looks like any of the same bullcrap that just gets rehashed week in, week out, with all these commentators applauding him for being a great chairman of the Federal Reserve, because he did steer the economy out of this precipice. I believe that he has put his foot on the accelerator and is driving a Formula 1 car straight into an even bigger precipice. So we'll see about that. But the funny thing is, I went back to some old articles back before he actually became Fed chairman, and he said something like this. Ben Bernanke does not think the national housing boom is a bubble that is about to burst, he indicated to Congress last week, just a few days before President Bush nominated him to become the next chairman of the Federal Reserve. And in his words, he actually said, the house price increases largely reflect strong economic fundamentals, such as strong growth in jobs, incomes, and the number of new households. His thinking on the housing market did not attract much attention before Bush tapped him on the Fed Job Monday, but will be likely amongst the key topics explored by members of the Senate Banking Committee later on. Now, he his testimony suggests that he does not share any concerns about house price going up, and he believes that the economy could weather a housing slowdown. House prices are unlikely to continue rising at current rates. However, a moderate cooling in the housing market, should one occur, would not be inconsistent with the economy continuing to grow near or above its growth potential next year. Even Greenspan, his predecessor, said that he sees no national bubble in home prices, but rather froth in some local markets. And he goes on to say that even if the economy cooled or the housing slowed down or contracted, he does not see a significant slowing of growth in the economy. Sorry, I got my tongue tied. What happened? Well, the GFC happened. House prices fell 80% in some areas. Stock market fell almost 70%. Well, if that's not a huge correction, geez, I don't know what forms a major problem for him. So I'd hate to see something much more of a calamity according to his own statistics. But yet, that's ironic that I was able to come up with this old information. Just Google it if you want. But I found an even funnier article that was written about the same time. But this article has a lot more relevance to what's about to happen. And this is it here. Now, this is actually the whole transcript of a speech that this person gave. So I'm not going to go through the whole lot, but you're looking at, this person reckons that there is no housing bubble. Just because prices are high doesn't mean there's a house price bubble, this person says. House prices could be high for some good fundamental reason. For example, there have been changes in the tax laws that reduce the potential tax bite from selling one's home and buying another. And blah, 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 blah. It's just a whole bunch of baloney. But this person just keeps on rehashing the same bull dust over and over again, and just will never admit that there is a housing bubble or that they're staring at one right in the face. This speech was given at the end of 2005, basically at the time when the mortgages were peaking, as in the largest amount of mortgages were being issued with those adjustable rates, teaser rates. We all know what happened afterwards. But what's still so funny about what I just read? Well, you have to look at the name of the person who gave the speech. Can you guess without looking at the article? Well, if you said Janet Yellen, you'd be 100% right. So what does this mean? It means that the previous idiot, Ben Bernanke, who could not see a housing bubble, and then had to live through one and had to retract that, but that's all in history now, is now saying that there is absolutely no asset bubbles. He doesn't see any bubbles in the housing market, he doesn't see any bubbles in the stock market, and he doesn't see any bubbles in the bond market. And he's handing the baton over to just as big an imbecile in Janet Yellen. I'm not picking on her because she's a woman. All these Fed presidents are idiots. They cannot see outside the bubble that they live in, just as most speculators cannot see the real investing environment outside of the speculative bubble that they live in. So essentially, the next chairman of the Federal Reserve could not see a housing bubble, just like her predecessor could not see one. And we all know what happened there. And both of these imbeciles cannot see any asset bubbles of any kind whatsoever, and they believe that QE is helping the economy. Go figure. The blind is truly leading the blind. What chance do you have if these guys cannot see the bubbles?